The farmer thought the Apache woman was weak and thirsty, standing by the side of the road ignored by everyone. When he offered her water, she simply shook her head and made an unexpected request, pointing to her own hands. The moment he understood what she truly wanted, his body froze and everyone around fell into absolute silence. Subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and comment where you're watching from, because now I'm going to tell you everything. The sun was a white hole in the sky, burning the blue right out of it. Tom Miller wiped the sweat from his forehead with the back of a rough hand. It was only 10 in the morning. "Betsy, old girl," he said, patting the warm metal of his tractor. "We're just spitting into the wind today." The tractor did not answer. Nothing did. The silence on his farm was a heavy thing. It used to be filled with the sound of green things growing, of water moving through the irrigation pipes, of Sarah's laughter from the porch. Now there was only the crackle of dry earth and the sigh of hot wind. Tom looked out at his field. The corn was stunted, each plant a sad brown skeleton. The dirt was pale and cracked, like a giant jigsaw puzzle. He looked toward town. The Dustwater water tower stood on its metal legs. The town's name almost faded off. He could see the tank was not full. It was 3/4 empty. His eyes moved to the hills. There, everything was different. The land around the Ajax Mining Company was a rude green circle. He could see the sprinklers going, tossing water into the air like diamonds in the sun. "They got all the water," Tom muttered, "and we got all the dust." He walked toward his farmhouse, his boots kicking up little puffs of the dirt. The town of Dustwater was dying. He could feel it. The hardware store closed last month. The diner only opened for breakfast and lunch. People moved away, one family at a time. Those who stayed walked with their heads down, their spirits as parched as the land. He reached the old hand pump near the porch. This was his good water, cool and deep from the well. The town water was brown sometimes, and it tasted like metal. He worked the handle, up and down. It groaned and squeaked. Finally, a stream of clear, cold water splashed into the trough. He cupped his hands under it and drank. It was the best thing he'd tasted all day. He stood up, looking down the long, straight dirt road that ran past his farm. A mile away, where the road met the highway to the reservation, he saw a figure. Someone was standing there, just standing, still as a fence post. Tom squinted. It was a person, a woman, he thought. The heat made the air above the road shimmer, making her look like a mirage. "Who stands out in this heat?" he asked the empty air. He watched her for a full minute. She did not move. He thought of Sarah. Sarah would have said, "Go see Tom. Maybe she needs help." Sarah always saw the person first. Tom just saw the problem. A knot of loneliness tightened in his chest. He had not had a real conversation with anyone since Roy, the sheriff, stopped by for coffee 3 days ago. And that talk was just about the weather and how bad things were. Without really deciding to, Tom moved. He found a clean metal cup on the porch. He pumped the handle again until the cup was full of cold water. He stepped off his porch and started walking down his driveway toward the road. The heat wrapped around him like a blanket. Cicadas screamed in the dry brush. As he got closer, he could see her more clearly. She was a young woman. She wore a long, dark dress with patterns on it. Her hair was long and black, tied back. She was Apache from the Whitestone River Reservation down the road. Her face was calm, but her eyes were on him. She watched him walk all the way from his house. Tom stopped a few feet from her. He held out the cup. A kind smile stretched his dry lips. "It's awful hot," he said, his voice rough from lack of use. "You look like you could use this." The young woman looked at the cup. She looked at his face. She did not take it. Slowly she shook her head. Tom's smile faded. He felt a flush of embarrassment. Maybe she did not understand him. She raised her own hand. She pointed at the empty cup in Tom's hand. Then, very deliberately, she turned and pointed down the road, past Tom, right at the old water pump next to his house. Then she spoke. Her voice was quiet, but clear in the thick silence. "Teach me," she said. "Teach me how to work the pump." Tom stood frozen. The cup of water felt suddenly heavy in his hand. He understood. It hit him like a bucket of cold well water. She did not want his water. She wanted the pump. She wanted the knowledge. She wanted to know how to get it for herself. His kind act felt small and wrong. It was not help she wanted. It was a tool. He looked from her steady dark eyes to his own farm. He saw his dying fields, the empty water tower, the greedy green of the mine on the hill. He looked back at her. She was still waiting, her hand still pointing toward the knowledge. A strange feeling stirred in Tom's chest. It was not pity. It was something else, something he had not felt in a long time. "Okay," he heard himself say. "Okay, I can do that." He turned and started walking back to his farm. He did not look back, but he knew she was following him. For the first time in 5 years, someone was following him. And it was not into the past. It was toward a pump, toward water, toward a question he had been too lonely and tired to ask. Why was everyone so thirsty? Tom walked back to the pump, the woman following a few steps behind. He could feel the weight of her eyes on his back. He placed the full cup of water on the edge of the stone trough. He turned to face her. The silence between them felt large. "This here is an old hand pump," he said, his voice sounding too loud. He put his hand on the metal handle. "My granddad put it in. It goes down deep, to the water under the ground." She just watched him. Her face was calm, like still water. "You gotta prime it first," he said. He lifted the handle up and then pushed it down. It moved with a dry, scraping sound. No water came out. "See? It's empty. The pipe is dry, so you pour a little water in the top here." He picked up the cup and poured a small amount into the round opening at the top of the pump. He handed the almost empty cup to her. Her fingers brushed his as she took it. Her hands were strong with short, clean nails. "Now you work the handle," he said. "Slow and steady. You pull it up, then you push it down. It pulls the water up from the deep place." He moved aside. She stepped forward. She placed her hands on the worn wooden handle, just where his had been. She pulled up. The pump groaned. She pushed down. A wet, sucking sound came from deep in the pipe. "Keep going," Tom said. She worked the handle, up and down, up and down. Her arms were strong. On the 5th push there was a gurgle. Then with a sputter and a cough, a stream of cold, clear water rushed out of the spout and splashed into the stone trough. She did not smile, but her eyes changed. They got a little brighter. She kept pumping, watching the water flow. "You got it," Tom said. She pumped a few more times, then stopped. The water slowed to a trickle, then stopped. She looked at the trough, then at the dry fields, then back at the pump. "The water is still there," she said. It was not a question. "Deep down, yes," Tom said. "It's the same water my granddad used. It never used to be so hard to get. Now the ground is thirsty. It drinks it up before we can." A truck slowed down on the road. It was old and red. It stopped. 2 men from town, Jim and Earl, were inside. They stared at Tom and the Apache woman by his pump. Jim leaned his head out the window. "Everything all right, Tom?" Jim called. His voice was friendly, but his eyes were not. "Everything's fine," Tom said, his voice flat. Jim's eyes flicked to Kaya, then back to Tom. He nodded slowly. "All right then, don't work too hard." The truck rolled away, kicking up dust. Kaya watched it go. "They are surprised," she said. "They're nosy," Tom said. He felt a sudden need to explain. "It's just, people around here don't see many folks from the reservation come into town, except on supply days." "We have our own town," Kaya said quietly. She looked at the pump again. "Our water is gone. The river by our homes is just rocks and dust. Our pumps are like this one. They cough, but no water comes." Tom felt a sharp pang in his chest. He knew that feeling, the feeling of a dry pump. "The whole county's dry. But not for the mine," she said, looking toward the green hills. "They have water for their grass, for their machines." Tom followed her gaze. He had thought that same thing 100 times. They have deep pockets. They drill deeper wells. They can afford it. Kaya was silent for a long moment. She looked at the dirt, then at the sky, then at Tom. "I see their trucks at night. Big tanker trucks. They do not use the main road. They use the old trail that goes into the sacred mountains. My grandfather's land." Tom shifted his weight. This was more than he usually talked about with anyone. "Maybe they're just checking on things." "They go in empty," Kaya said, her dark eyes fixed on him. "They come out full. You can hear the water sloshing inside, in the middle of the night. When does a mine need so much water in the dark?" A cold feeling, different from the heat of the day, settled in Tom's stomach. He had seen those trucks too, rumbling in the distance. He had never asked himself that question. He looked at this young woman. She was not just hot and helpless. She was watching. She was thinking. She had come here not for a drink but for a tool, and now she was giving him a piece of a puzzle he had been too tired to solve. "I don't know," he admitted, and it was the truest thing he'd said in a long time. Kaya nodded, as if his honesty was what she wanted. She handed the empty metal cup back to him. "Thank you for the lesson." She turned and began to walk back toward the road, toward the reservation. "Wait," Tom heard himself say. She stopped and looked back. "The pump. It might need more priming next time, if it sits dry for too long." She studied him. "Then I will prime it again." "You could come back," Tom said. The words felt strange in his mouth. "Tomorrow. I could show you the maps I have of the land, the old water lines. Maybe we could figure out where the water went." Kaya considered him. The sun was behind her now, making a dark shape of her against the bright sky. "My grandmother says the land speaks, but you have to know how to listen." "I've been listening to this land my whole life," Tom said, "but I think I've been hearing it wrong." For the first time, something like understanding passed between them. It was not a smile, but it was close. "Tomorrow," she said. Then she turned and walked down the dusty road, leaving Tom alone with his thoughts, his pump, and a new troubling question that would not go away. Tom was up before the sun. He cleaned the kitchen, which didn't take long. He put fresh water in a clean pitcher. He found his old land maps and spread them on the kitchen table, holding down the corners with coffee mugs. He felt a nervous energy he hadn't felt in years. A little after 10, he saw her walking up the driveway. Kaya. She wore jeans and a simple shirt today, but her hair was in the same long dark braid. She carried a small cloth bag. "Morning," Tom said, stepping out onto the porch. "Good morning," Kaya replied. She looked past him to the farm. "Your land is very quiet." "It's dying," Tom said bluntly. "Might as well say it." He led her inside to the kitchen table. He pointed to the largest map. "This is my land. This red line here, that's the old water table. My granddad marked where the water was close to the surface, see?" His finger traced a wavy red line that curled around his property and stretched east, toward the reservation hills. "The water under the ground, it's like a river. It flows. This map says it flowed right from under my north field, over toward those mountains." Kaya leaned close. She pointed to a spot on the map where the red line thickened. "This place. This is near Black Ridge. It is a sacred place for my people. A spring was there. My grandmother washed her hair there when she was a girl. Now it is dust." Tom nodded slowly. "If the map is right, that spring and my well here," he tapped his farm, "they were cousins. Same water." "Then why is your water little and my water gone?" Kaya asked. Her voice was not angry, just focused. Tom sighed. "I don't know, but I want to show you something outside." He took her to his north field. The corn was brown and dead. The soil was pale and cracked. This is where the water was best. Now nothing. Kaya did not look at the dead plants. She looked at the ground. She walked a few steps away from Tom, her eyes scanning the dirt and the few dry weeds. She stopped and crouched down. "What is it?" Tom asked. "Your land is not just quiet, it is empty," she said. "Where are the birds, the mice, the insects, the plants that live with no water, the tough ones? They are gone too." She picked up a handful of dirt and let it sift through her fingers. "This is not just dry. This is dead. Something has pulled the life from it." Tom felt a chill. He had been so busy watching his crops die, he hadn't seen everything else dying too. "The water is the life." "Yes," Kaya said. She stood up and wiped her hands on her jeans. "Can we walk to the edge, where your land meets the wild place?" They walked to the fence line where Tom's farm ended and the scrubland began, rolling toward the distant mine and the reservation hills. Kaya moved differently out here. She was slower, her eyes missing nothing. She pointed to a low, spiky plant. "This is brittlebrush. It can live for 1 year with no rain. See, it is gray. It is dead." She pointed to a small, twisted tree. "This is a mesquite. Its roots go down very, very deep for water. It is sick. Its leaves are too small." Tom looked. He had seen these plants all his life. He had never really seen them. "They're all thirsty." "They are," Kaya said. "But look there." She pointed up at the hills where the Ajax mine sat. Around its buildings there were patches of green. Their plants are not thirsty. Their water did not go away. It went to them. They stood in silence for a moment. The sun was high and hot. My grandmother says the earth speaks in signs, Kaya said. The dead brittle brush is a sign. The sick mesquite is a sign. The green grass at the mine is a sign. The trucks in the night are a sign. They are all saying the same word. What word? Tom asked. Theft, Kaya said simply. Just then, the rumble of a big engine broke the stillness. A large tanker truck painted with the Ajax mining logo came down the service road from the mine. It was heading toward the highway, away from town. Tom and Kaya watched it pass. The truck was heavy. It moved slowly. As it hit a bump on the road, a sloshing, watery sound came from inside its tank. Empty trucks do not sound like that, Kaya said. Tom stared at the truck. He thought about the red line on his map, flowing toward the hills. He thought about the sloshing sound. A hard, solid feeling formed in his chest. It was the opposite of the lonely hollow he was used to. You want to learn about my land, Tom said. I want to learn about these signs. Will you teach me? Kaya looked at him, judging his request. Finally, she gave a small nod. Yes, but learning is not just looking. It is doing. We must find where the water is going. How? We watch, she said. We follow the signs. We start with the trucks. We see where they really go. A car came down the main road then. It was Sheriff Roy Perkins' patrol car. It slowed as it passed Tom's farm. Roy looked out the window, seeing Tom and the Apache woman standing together at the edge of his field. Roy lifted a hand in a brief wave. His face was unreadable. Then he drove on toward town. Your friend, the sheriff? Kaya asked. We grew up together, Tom said, watching the car disappear. Does he see the signs? Kaya's question hung in the hot, still air. Tom didn't have an answer. He realized he and Roy hadn't talked about anything real in a long, long time. He looked back at the dust trail left by the mining truck. I don't know what he sees, but I'm starting to. Sheriff Roy's patrol car drove on toward town, but the sight of it left a quiet tension in the air. Tom watched it go. He was just checking, Tom said, more to himself than to Kaya. He checks on you often? Kaya asked. Not often enough, Tom mumbled. He turned away from the road. You said we need to watch the trucks. We need to know their schedule. Kaya nodded. I will watch from the reservation side tonight. I know a place on a ridge where I can see the old trail. I'll watch from here, Tom said. I can see the main service road from my porch. Between us, we might see a pattern. Be careful, Kaya said. It was a simple warning, plainly spoken. She left him then, walking back the way she came. That evening, Tom sat on his porch in an old wooden chair. He had a notebook and a pencil. The sun went down, painting the sky in colors of orange and purple. The mine on the hill became a cluster of tiny lights. At 8 o'clock, one tanker truck left the mine by the main road, heading toward the highway. Tom wrote it down. At 10 o'clock, he saw 2 sets of headlights leave the mine complex. But they did not use the main road. They turned off their lights and dipped down into a gully, disappearing toward the north, toward the old trail Kaya mentioned. Tom sat up straight, straining his eyes. He heard the low growl of engines fading into the distance. He wrote, 10 p.m., 2 trucks, no lights, north trail. He waited until midnight. The trucks did not return. A deep unease settled over him. Kaya was right. This was not normal mine business. Across town, in a small office with a dusty window, Mayor Bill Gable finished a phone call. He was a large man with a red face. He smiled at the man sitting across from him, Mr. Croft. Mr. Croft wore a clean striped shirt and his hands were soft. He was the site manager for Ajax Mining. Everything is fine on our end, Bill, Mr. Croft said. The transfer is smooth. The numbers are good. Good, good, Mayor Gable said, pouring 2 glasses of whiskey. The town is quiet. Jim, the man from the red truck, leaned in the doorway. Not completely quiet, Mayor. Oh? Mayor Gable's smile faded. Saw something odd today, Jim said. Tom Miller, out by his fence. He was with that Indian girl, the one from the reservation. They were talking a long time, pointing at the mine. Then Roy drove by and saw them too. Mayor Gable's face darkened. Tom Miller? That old farmer? What's he doing? Don't know, Jim said. But he looked mighty serious, and she didn't look like she was just visiting. Mr. Croft put his glass down softly. Curiosity is a problem, Bill. A small problem now, but small problems can grow. Tom's harmless, the mayor said, but his voice was unsure. Is he? Mr. Croft asked. A man with nothing to lose, teaming up with someone from the reservation who has everything to gain? That is a story people might listen to. We cannot have people asking questions about water. Not now. Mayor Gable drank his whiskey in one gulp. He looked at Jim. Maybe Tom needs a reminder to focus on his own farm, his own problems. Jim smiled. It was not a friendly smile. I can give him a reminder. Me and Earl. Nothing too much, Mayor Gable said quickly. Just make sure he understands it's better to keep his head down. Mr. Croft stood up to leave. A message might be good for the reservation too, so they know we are watching. Tom woke to the sound of cracking metal and a loud curse. He jumped out of bed. The clock said 3 in the morning. He grabbed his shotgun and ran outside in his bare feet. The moon was bright. He saw 2 figures by his water pump. One of them had a big wrench. He heard another crunching sound. The pump handle bent sideways with a shriek of torn metal. Hey, Tom yelled, raising the shotgun. The 2 men spun around. It was Jim and Earl. They dropped the wrench and ran for their red truck, parked on the side road. Tom fired a shot into the air. The blast was huge in the silent night. The truck's engine roared and they sped away, tires spitting dirt. Tom ran to his pump. The metal was twisted and broken. The pipe was cracked. No water would ever come from it again. A hot, helpless rage filled his chest. He stood there shaking until the sky began to turn gray. Later that same morning, Kaya walked out of her grandmother's house on the reservation. On the porch, right in front of the door, was a single large stone. It was smooth and black. It was not from the nearby land. Her grandmother, a woman with a face like worn leather, came out and saw it. Her eyes filled with a deep, old sadness. What is it, grandmother? Kaya asked, though she feared she knew. It is a message from a time before, her grandmother said, her voice a dry whisper. It means stop. It means go no further. It is a warning. Kaya picked up the cold, heavy stone. The anger she felt was clean and sharp. Unlike Tom's hot rage, it was a focusing anger. They broke Tom's pump last night, Kaya said. She had heard the gossip at the trading post. Then the warning is for both of you, her grandmother said. They are scared. When thieves are scared, they become dangerous. Tom drove his old truck into Dustwater. He went straight to the small sheriff's office. Sheriff Roy was at his desk, polishing his badge with a cloth. They broke my pump, Roy, Tom said, his voice tight. Jim and Earl, I saw them. Roy put the badge down slowly. He looked tired. Now, Tom, did you really see them? It was dark. I saw their truck. I know their shapes. They used a wrench. It's destroyed. Roy leaned back in his chair. It creaked. Jim and Earl, they're just dumb kids sometimes. Probably had too much to drink. A prank that went too far. A prank? Tom's hands clenched into fists. That pump is my good water, Roy. It's all I had left. I'll talk to them, Roy said, holding up a calming hand. I'll tell them to stay off your land. But Tom, you gotta be careful lately. Careful of what? Roy would not meet his eye. He looked at his polished badge. People are talking about you spending time with that Indian girl, stirring up ideas about the mine. It makes people nervous. Just farm your land, Tom. Keep your head down. It's safer. Tom looked at his old friend. He saw the man who used to laugh with him, who used to talk about fixing the world. He saw a stranger wearing a sheriff's badge. Someone left a warning stone on Kaya's porch too, Tom said quietly. Roy's head snapped up. That's reservation business. That's not my... Tom didn't let him finish. He turned and walked out of the office. The door slammed shut behind him. He stood on the dusty street, the sun beating down. The message was clear. The trouble had started, and his friend, the sheriff, was not going to stop it. The anger from the sheriff's office burned in Tom's chest all the way home. He stood in his yard, looking at the ruined pump. The metal was twisted like a broken bone. He kicked the dirt, sending up a cloud of dust. He felt helpless, but the feeling didn't last. A new, harder feeling replaced it. Determination. They broke his pump to make him stop looking. That meant he was looking in the right place. He went into his farmhouse. In a back room was an old wooden trunk. It smelled of dust and time. Inside were his father's things and his grandfather's things. Papers, maps, old tools. He hadn't opened it in years. He lifted the heavy lid. He pulled out stacks of paper. There were receipts for seed from 50 years ago. There were letters. He found the old land maps he had shown Kaya. Underneath it all was a stiff, yellowed envelope. Written on it in faded ink were the words, "Land Agreement, Black Ridge Parcel." Tom's heart beat faster. Black Ridge. That was the sacred place Kaya had pointed to on the map. He opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper. It was a contract for the sale of land. At the top it said, "Between Silas Miller and Ajax Mineral Corporation." Silas Miller was Tom's grandfather. Tom read the words slowly. The contract said Silas Miller sold a piece of land, the eastern 20 acres adjacent to Black Ridge, to the mining company. The date was many decades ago. Tom's grandfather had signed it with a looping, confident signature. Tom sat on the floor, the paper trembling in his hand. His own family. His grandfather had sold a piece of the very land where the sacred spring was. He had sold it to the company that was now stealing the water. He felt sick. Part of the problem was built on his own land, on his own name. On the reservation, Kaya placed the black warning stone on her grandmother's kitchen table. Who would leave this, grandmother? The mayor's men. Her grandmother, whose name was Anna, touched the stone with a wrinkled finger. Maybe their hands. But the thought is older. This hate for our people, this fear, it is an old river. It has many tributaries. Tom's pump was broken last night, Kaya said. They want us both to be quiet. Anna nodded slowly. She moved to the stove and poured tea into 2 cups. Sit, granddaughter. I will tell you a story of 2 men. It is not a happy story. Kaya sat. The old woman's voice was soft, but clear. A long time ago, when I was a young woman, there were 2 friends. One was a white farmer, Silas Miller. The other was an Apache man, a keeper of stories named Red Hawk. That was my father, your great-grandfather. Kaya leaned forward. Tom's grandfather? Yes. Silas and Red Hawk were not like other men. They saw the land as one life. They worked together. Silas knew how to dig wells. Red Hawk knew where the water spirits rested. They made a promise. They promised to protect the water that fed the farmers' fields and the Apache springs. They said the water was for everyone, forever. Anna took a sip of tea. Her eyes were far away. What happened? Kaya asked. A man from a mining company came. He offered Silas Miller money. A lot of money for a small piece of rocky land near Black Ridge. Silas was proud. He wanted to buy new machines. He told Red Hawk it was just rocks, no water there. Red Hawk said the rocks held the spring in place. They had a big fight. Harsh words were said, words about trust, words about who really belonged. Their friendship broke like a dry stick. Silas sold the land. Red Hawk's heart was broken. Not long after, the spring at Black Ridge began to weaken. Then it died. Kaya felt the story settle in her bones. The theft started with that sale. It started with a broken promise, Anna corrected gently. The company needed a door into the land. Silas Miller gave them the key. Tom didn't wait. He drove to the reservation that afternoon. He found Kaya outside her grandmother's house, tending a small garden of dry plants. She looked up and saw his face. You have news. I found something, Tom said. He held out the old contract. Kaya read it. Her expression did not change, but her shoulders stiffened. She handed it back. My grandmother just told me a story about 2 friends, Silas Miller and Red Hawk. Tom's breath caught. My grandfather, and my great-grandfather, Kaya finished. They promised to protect the water, then they fought. Your grandfather sold the land. Tom looked at the dirt. The shame was a physical weight. I'm sorry, I didn't know. I know you didn't, Kaya said. Her voice wasn't angry, it was matter-of-fact. You are not your grandfather, but his choice is part of the chain that holds us now. Tom folded the contract and put it back in his pocket. He gave them a door. Now they've taken the whole house. Kaya nodded. My grandmother said the warning stone is from an old river of hate, but we are in a new river now. What do we do? Tom looked toward the mine, a dark shape on the horizon. We can't just watch the trucks anymore. We need to see what they're doing. We need to go to the source. We need to go to that land my grandfather sold." "That is dangerous," Kaya said. "The mining company guards it now. They have fences and cameras." "We have to try," Tom said. His voice was firm. "We have to fix what they broke. Not just the pump, the promise." Kaya was silent for a long time. She picked up a small, smooth stone from her garden and turned it over in her hand. "I know a way. An old path my great-grandfather used. It is not on any map of theirs." "Will you show me?" Tom asked. Kaya met his eyes. She put the stone in her pocket. "Yes, but we must be smart. We must be ready. This is not just looking. This is walking into the wolf's den." "I understand," Tom said. Inside the house, Anna watched them through the window. She saw the determined set of Tom's jaw. She saw the focused light in her granddaughter's eyes. She whispered a few words in the old language, a prayer for protection. The past had risen like a ghost. Now these two would have to face it. 2 days later, Tom stood in his barn. He checked an old flashlight. It worked. He found a small camera, the kind that used film. It was dusty, but it seemed okay. He put fresh batteries in both. He was packing a canvas bag when he heard a car pull up. It was Sheriff Roy's patrol car. Roy got out slowly. He walked into the barn, his boots heavy on the wooden floor. "Tom." "Roy." Tom didn't stop packing. "What are you doing?" Roy asked, nodding at the bag. "Getting ready to fix some things," Tom said vaguely. Roy walked closer. His face was serious. "Tom, you need to stop, right now." Tom put the camera in the bag. "Stop what?" "You know what. Asking questions. Poking around with that girl. I got a visit from Mayor Gable. He's not happy. He says you're stirring up trouble, making people think the mine is stealing water." "Maybe people should think about it," Tom said, looking at his friend. "Maybe you should think about it." Roy's jaw tightened. He took off his hat and ran a hand through his hair. "It's not that simple. That mine is the only big business left in this county. They pay taxes. They give jobs. If you cause a big stink and they leave, this town is finished." "The town is already finished, Roy," Tom's voice echoed in the barn. "Can't you see that? It's drying up and blowing away, and they're taking the last of the water while they do it." "You don't have proof of that," Roy said, but his voice was weak. "I'm trying to get proof." "That's what I'm afraid of," Roy said, his voice dropping. "Bill Gable, he's scared. And Mr. Croft from the mine, he doesn't get scared. He gets mean. They told me to make you stop. They said if I don't, they'll find a way to stop you themselves. A worse way." Tom zipped up his bag. "Are you here to arrest me, Roy?" Roy looked pained. "No, I'm here as your friend. Please, just go back to your farm. Grieve your wife. Tend your land. Let this go." "I can't," Tom said quietly. "Sarah loved this land too. If I let it die without a fight, I'm not tending her memory. I'm burying it." The two old friends stood in silence. Roy put his hat back on. He looked older than Tom had ever seen him. "I can't protect you if you cross that line, Tom. If you go onto mine property. That's trespassing. That's the law." "Is stealing all the water against the law?" Tom asked. Roy had no answer. He turned and walked back to his car. He didn't look back. Later that afternoon, Kaya came to the farm. Her face was set in a hard line. "They put up a new fence," she said without greeting. "On the old trail. A tall fence with wire on top. And a sign. It says, 'Private property, no trespassing, armed response.'" Tom's heart sank. "They're blocking the way. They are hiding something," Kaya said. "They know we are looking. The path my great-grandfather used, it is still there. It goes higher up, over a rocky ledge. It is harder, but it is not fenced. Not yet." "Can we still do it?" Tom asked. "We can," Kaya said. "But we must go soon, before they find that path too." At 7 in the evening, Mayor Bill Gable sat in Mr. Croft's office at the mine. The office was cool and clean, unlike the mayor's dusty one in town. "Your sheriff is soft," Mr. Croft said, looking out the window at the fading light. "Roy's just trying to keep the peace," Gable said, mopping his brow. "The peace is over," Croft said, turning around. His eyes were cold. "The farmer and the Indian girl are a spark. We cannot let that spark become a fire. We will extinguish it." "What does that mean?" Gable asked, his voice nervous. "It means we show strength. We make the reservation understand there is a cost to curiosity, and we make sure Tom Miller cannot go anywhere or talk to anyone." Croft pressed a button on his desk. A large man in a security uniform stepped into the room. "Double the guards on the perimeter, especially around the Black Ridge transfer station. If anyone crosses the fence, you detain them. You hold them for me. Do you understand?" The guard nodded. "Yes, sir." "Good." Croft looked back at the pale mayor. "This ends now, Bill. One way or another." Tom sat at his kitchen table. His bag was packed by the door. Kaya's plan was to meet him at midnight at the edge of his property, where the wild land began. From there, they would go across the open desert toward the hidden path. He felt afraid, but beneath the fear was a solid rock of purpose. He thought of his grandfather's signature on that contract. He thought of Kaya's great-grandfather, Red Hawk. A broken promise had started this. Maybe a kept promise could end it. He took a last look around his quiet house. Then he picked up his bag, turned off the light, and stepped out into the dark night. Sheriff Roy had made his choice. Now Tom was making his. He walked away from the farmhouse toward the shadowy figure of Kaya waiting under a lone mesquite tree. They didn't speak. They just started walking side by side into the blackness toward the mine. The desert at night was a different world. It was cold and full of small sounds. Tom followed Kaya's dark shape. She moved without a sound, her feet finding solid ground between the rocks and prickly plants. Tom was louder, but he knew how to step carefully from a lifetime of checking fences in the dark. After an hour of walking, Kaya stopped behind a large boulder. She pointed ahead. In the distance, they could see the lights of the Ajax mine. A bright white fence ran along the bottom of the hill. "That is the new fence," Kaya whispered. "We do not go to it. We go around. Follow me." She led him away from the lights, up a steep, rocky slope. The path was not a path at all, just a way between sharp rocks. They climbed for another 30 minutes. Then Kaya stopped on a flat ledge. Below them, they could see the whole mine. The fence was far below now. "This is the old way," Kaya said softly. "My great-grandfather showed my father. My father showed me. The mining company does not know it is here." Tom looked down. The mine was a puzzle of buildings, machines, and bright lights. He felt very exposed. "What are we looking for?" "We are looking for the water," Kaya said. "We follow the sound. We follow the pipes. We look for a place that should not have water, but does." Tom took the camera out of his bag. He checked the flashlight but did not turn it on. "I'm ready." Kaya reached into the pocket of her dark jacket. She pulled out a thin, straight piece of metal about the length of her hand. It was smooth and shiny. "What is that?" Tom asked. "My father taught me," she said, "for old locks, in case we find a door." Tom nodded. He did not ask more questions. They started down the other side of the slope, moving toward the edge of the mine property. They stayed in the shadows. Suddenly, Kaya held up a hand. They froze. A guard walked along a road inside the fence, a long flashlight beam sweeping the ground. He was 200 yards away. They pressed themselves against the rocks. The guard did not look up. He kept walking. "They have more guards," Tom whispered. "They are afraid," Kaya whispered back. They moved again, lower now, coming closer to the back of a large windowless building. It was made of metal. And then they heard it. A low, steady rumble. It was not a machine sound. It was the sound of moving water. A lot of moving water. Kaya pointed. Behind the building, partly hidden by a stack of pipes, was a huge metal tube. It was as wide as a car. It came straight out of the ground. It went into the side of the building. The rumbling sound was coming from inside it. Tom's mouth went dry. He lifted the camera. He looked through the viewfinder and pressed the button. The click was too loud in the quiet night. A small flash of light came from the camera. "No flash," Kaya hissed. But it was too late. A door on the side of the building slammed open. Light spilled out. A man in a security uniform stood there, staring right at them. "Hey, you! Stop right there!" he yelled. Another guard came running around the corner. "Run!" Tom said. They turned and ran back toward the rocky slope. Footsteps pounded behind them. A whistle blew, sharp and piercing. More voices shouted. A bright spotlight snapped on from a tower, sweeping the ground, searching for them. Tom and Kaya scrambled up the rocks. Tom's bag snagged on a bush. He ripped it free. Kaya was ahead, pulling herself up onto the ledge. Tom reached for her hand. He felt a strong grip close around his arm from behind. He was yanked backward. He fell, the camera flying from his hand. A large guard stood over him, breathing hard. "Got one," the guard yelled. Tom looked up. Kaya was on the ledge, looking down. Their eyes met. For a second, he thought she would run. She should run. Instead, she jumped back down. "Let him go," she said, her voice calm and clear. Two more guards arrived. One grabbed Kaya's arms. The other picked up Tom's camera from the ground. He opened it, exposed the film to the night air, and threw the ruined camera into the darkness. The first guard, the one who caught Tom, pulled him to his feet. He had a mean smile. "You two picked the wrong night for a walk. Mr. Croft is gonna want to talk to you." They were marched toward the building with the big pipe. The guard opened a heavy metal door on the side. It was not the main building. It was a small storage shed, filled with old tools and drums. The guard shoved Tom inside. He pushed Kaya in after him. "Sit tight," the guard said. The door slammed shut. A key turned in the lock. Then, there was only darkness, and the sound of their own breathing, and the distant mocking rumble of the stolen water. The lock clicked shut. The sound was very loud in the dark shed. Tom listened to the guard's footsteps walk away. "Are you hurt?" Kaya's voice came from the darkness. "No," Tom said. He stood up, feeling the wall with his hands. The shed was small. It smelled of oil and dust. A thin line of light came under the door. He could see outlines of old machinery and metal drums. "You?" "I am fine," she said. He heard her move. "They ruined the camera," Tom said. The hopelessness felt heavy. "We have no proof now." "We have what we saw," Kaya said. Her voice was calm. "We have what we heard, the big pipe, the water sound. We know." "Knowing isn't enough," Tom said, sliding down the wall to sit on the dirt floor. "We have to show people, and we're locked in here. They're going to come back. What will they do with us?" For a moment there was only silence. Then Tom heard a soft, metallic scraping sound. "What are you doing?" he whispered. "My father taught me many things," Kaya said. He could see her shape kneeling by the door, her face close to the lock. The thin piece of metal from her dress was in her hand. She was bending one end of it into a small hook. He said, "Locks are just puzzles. You have to listen to the pieces." She slid the metal into the keyhole. She moved it slowly, her head tilted. Tom held his breath. "Why did you come back?" he asked quietly. "When I was caught. You could have gotten away." "You would have done the same," Kaya said, not stopping her work. "We are a team now. We fixed the promise together." Tom felt a sharp warmth in his chest. He hadn't been part of a team since Sarah died. A guard's voice sounded outside, not too far away. "Croft says to hold them till morning. Then they take a long ride out to the deep desert." Another guard laughed. It was a mean sound. "Got it. Nobody walks out of that desert." The voices faded. Tom's mouth went dry. He looked around the shed in the dim light. His eyes landed on an old metal oil can, empty and rusty, on a shelf. "We need a distraction," he whispered, "for when you get that open." "Almost," Kaya breathed. Her hand was steady. She closed her eyes, feeling with the metal tool. The last pin. There. A solid asterisk, click asterisk, echoed in the small space. The door was unlocked. "Now," Kaya whispered, pulling the tool out. Tom grabbed the old oil can. He moved to the back of the shed, opposite the door. "When I make noise, you open the door and go. Run straight for the rocks, don't look back." "I will not leave you," Kaya said. "You have to," Tom hissed. "One of us has to get back and tell the story. Go." He didn't wait for an answer. He drew his arm back and threw the oil can as hard as he could at the metal wall of the shed. Clang, bang, clang, clang. The noise was terrifyingly loud in the quiet night. "What was that?" a guard shouted. "In the shed. Check it." Tom saw Kaya pull the shed door open a crack. She slipped out into the night like a shadow. He ran to the door and looked out. Two guards were running toward the back of the shed where the can had clattered. "Go, go, go," he whispered to himself, and he bolted out the door. He ran away from the guards toward the dark shape of the rocky slope. He saw Kaya ahead, already at the base of the climb. He heard shouts behind him. "They're out! Stop them!" A flashlight beam cut through the dark, sweeping over his head. Tom scrambled up the rocks, his hands scraping on stone. Kaya reached down, grabbed his wrist, and pulled him up onto the first ledge. "Up higher," she said. They climbed, not trying to be quiet now, just fast. Rocks tumbled down behind them. A guard below was trying to climb after them, but he was slow and heavy in his boots. "I can't get a shot. They're in the rocks," someone yelled. Tom and Kaya reached the top of the ridge. They didn't stop. They ran down the other side, away from the lights and the shouts, into the welcoming darkness of the open desert. They ran until their lungs burned and the mine lights were just a fuzzy glow behind them. Finally, they stopped behind a large cluster of boulders, gasping for air. The night was silent again except for the sound of their breathing. Tom looked at Kaya. Her braid had come loose. Her face was smudged with dirt. She looked back at him. "We saw it," Tom panted. "We know." Kaya nodded. She looked toward the distant, faint lights of Dustwater. "Now we must make the town see it too, before the sun comes up." The run back to town felt endless. Every shadow made them jump. Every sound was a guard. But no one followed. The mine wanted its secret kept, not a public chase. Tom's truck was where they left it, hidden in a dry wash. They drove the back roads, not turning on the headlights until they were miles from the mine. They did not speak. The only sound was the truck's engine and their own tired breathing. Tom drove straight through Dustwater's empty streets. He did not stop at his farm. He drove to a small, neat house on the edge of town. Sheriff Roy Perkins's house. The lights were off. It was 4 in the morning. Tom parked, and he and Kaya walked to the front door. Tom pounded on it with his fist. Once, twice. A light came on inside. After a minute, the door opened. Roy stood there in his pajamas, his hair messy. He had his pistol in his hand. When he saw Tom and Kaya dirty and wild-eyed, his face went from angry to confused to worried. "Tom? What in the world?" "We saw it, Roy," Tom said, his voice rough. "We saw the pipe. We heard the water. A pipe as big as this door sucking water straight out of the ground. They caught us. They locked us in a shed. They were going to take us out to the desert and make us disappear." Roy just stared. He looked from Tom's desperate face to Kaya's calm, sure one. "Let us in, Sheriff," Kaya said quietly, "or stand aside. But the telling will happen now." Roy stepped back. They entered his small living room. He put his pistol on a table. "Start from the beginning." Tom told him everything. The map, the contract from his grandfather, the trucks, the broken pump, the climb over the ridge, the giant pipe, the sound of a river inside it, the lock on the shed, the guard's words about the deep desert. Kaya stood still, her arms crossed, confirming every word with a nod. When Tom finished, the room was silent. Roy sank into his armchair. He looked at his hands, then at his sheriff's badge hanging on a hook by the door. "You trespassed," Roy said weakly. "They're stealing a river, Roy." Tom's voice broke. "They're killing the land. They're killing the town. And you're worried about trespassing?" Roy did not answer for a long time. He looked at Kaya. "Your people, are they ready to stand on this?" "My grandmother has already sent word," Kaya said. "The people from the reservation will meet at the town reservoir at 7 this morning. They are tired of drinking dust. They will listen." Roy took a deep, shaky breath. He stood up. He walked to the hook and took down his badge. He polished it slowly on his pajama shirt. Then he pinned it carefully to his chest. "Bill Gable, the mayor, he'll fight. He'll lie. Then we arrest him," Tom said, shocked by his own words. "On your word? On her word?" Roy asked. "On the word of the sheriff," Kaya said. Her eyes held his. "The man who is supposed to serve the people. All the people." Roy closed his eyes. When he opened them, the doubt was gone, replaced by a tired certainty. Okay, the reservoir, at 7. I'll be there, and I'll bring Bill Gable for a front row seat." Word travels fast in a small, dry town. By 6:30 in the morning, a crowd was gathering at the base of the empty Dustwater reservoir. The concrete bowl was huge and cracked, holding nothing but sun-bleached trash. People from town came, curious and sleepy. Farmers with lined faces, shop owners. Jim and Earl stood at the back looking nervous. Then a line of cars and trucks came from the reservation. Dozens of Apache men and women got out. They stood together, quiet and watchful. Kaya's grandmother, Anna, stood at the front, her back straight. Tom and Kaya stood on the reservoir's low wall, waiting. Tom saw Mayor Gable's big car pull up. Sheriff Roy was driving. Mayor Gable got out of the passenger side, his face red and angry. Roy got out after him, his hand resting on his gun. "What is the meaning of this, Roy?" the mayor boomed. "This is an unlawful assembly." "It's a town meeting, Bill," Roy said, his voice loud and clear. "You're invited." Roy walked to stand beside Tom and Kaya on the wall. The crowd went quiet. All eyes were on them. Tom looked at the sea of faces, people he'd known his whole life, people he'd never met from the reservation, all brought together by the same thirst. He was scared, but Kaya stood beside him, and Roy stood on his other side. He was not alone. "Most of you know me," Tom began, his voice carrying in the morning air. "I'm just a farmer. I've been quiet for a long time, but last night I saw something. Kaya from the Whitestone River saw it with me." He told them. He told them about the pipe. He described its size. He described the thunder of water inside it, water that should be in their wells and in the reservation springs. He told them about the shed and what the gods said. "They were going to kill us," Tom said, "to keep their secret. The secret is this: Ajax Mining is not just using water. They are stealing it. They are pumping the life out from under our land and selling it. And they have help." Tom turned and pointed straight at Mayor Bill Gable. "He knows. He gets paid to look the other way. He had my pump broken to scare me. He sent a warning stone to the reservation." The crowd erupted in shouts and gasps. Mayor Gable spluttered. "Lies. This is all lies. He's a trespasser. She's a troublemaker." Sheriff Roy stepped forward. He took out his handcuffs. The crowd fell silent again, watching in disbelief. "Bill Gable," Roy said, his voice not wavering, "you are under arrest for conspiracy to commit theft of public resources and for endangerment. You have the right to remain silent." Roy snapped the cuffs on the mayor's wrists. A cheer went up from the reservation. A cry of shock came from the town. Mr. Croft, the mining boss, pushed his way through the crowd. "This is outrageous. You have no proof. This is just the word of a vandal and a girl." Kaya stepped forward. She looked at Mr. Croft, then at all the people. "You want proof?" she said, her voice ringing out. "Turn off your pumps. For 1 week, turn them off. If the water is not being stolen, your mine will be fine. If the water is being stolen, our wells will begin to fill again. The truth is underground. Let it rise." A slow murmur of agreement spread through the crowd from both sides. It was a simple test, too simple to argue against. Mr. Croft's face went pale. He had no answer. His silence was the loudest proof of all. Sheriff Roy looked at him. "Mr. Croft, I think you should come with me too. We have a lot to talk about." As Roy led the two men away, Tom looked out at the reservoir. It was still empty. It would take time. But for the first time in years, he felt like the earth beneath his feet might, someday, hold water again. The silence after the arrests lasted only a moment. Then the whole crowd seemed to let out one long breath. People began talking all at once, shouting questions, turning to their neighbors. Sheriff Roy held up his hands. "Everyone, listen!" The crowd quieted. "Mr. Croft is going to call his mine right now. He is going to order all water pumping from the deep springs to stop. For 1 week, we will watch what happens." Mr. Croft, his face stiff, took a phone from his pocket. He made a short, angry call. He said the words, "Shut down the main transfer pump, now." He hung up. "There, happy? This will cost a fortune. Less than it cost us," an old man from the reservation said loudly. People murmured in agreement. "Now we wait," Roy said. The week that followed was the longest week Tom could remember. He drove to the reservation every day. He and Kaya would visit different dry wells and the dusty riverbed. People from town and from the reservation started talking to each other, sharing stories of how deep their wells used to be. On the third day, old Mr. Wilkins from the town's edge came into the diner. He drove to the reservation every day. He and Kaya would visit different dry wells and the dusty riverbed. People from town and from the reservation started talking to each other, sharing stories of how deep their wells used to be. On the third day, old Mr. Wilkins from the town's edge came into the diner. "My well," he said, his voice full of wonder. "The water's a foot higher, just a foot, but it's higher." On the fifth day, Kaya's grandmother Anna called them to a dry water. "My well," he said, his voice full of wonder. "The water's a foot higher. just a foot, but it's higher. On the 5th day, Kaya's grandmother Anna called them to a dry wash on the reservation. A tiny trickle of water, clear as glass, was seeping from between two rocks. It was not enough to fill a cup. On the reservation, a tiny trickle of water, clear as glass, was seeping from between two rocks. It was not enough to fill a cup, but it was there. It was new. "The earth is healing," Anna said, tears in her old eyes. On the 7th day, a large group gathered again at the empty town reservoir. But it was there. It was new. "The earth is healing," Anna said, tears in her old eyes. On the 7th day, a large group gathered again at the empty town reservoir. The mood was different now. It was hopeful, tense. Sheriff Roy stood with Tom and Kaya. He spoke to the crowd. "The State Water Authority has been here all week." The mood was different now. It was hopeful, tense. Sheriff Roy stood with Tom and Kaya. He spoke to the crowd. "The State Water Authority has been here all week. They checked the mine's pipes." Kaya was right. They found the hidden line. It was taking millions of gallons. The mayor has confessed. He made a deal for his silence. Ajax, they checked the mine's pipes. Kaya was right. They found the hidden line. It was taking millions of gallons. The mayor has confessed. He made a deal for his silence. Ajax Mining is facing very big fines, and they will pay to fix the water they stole. A cheer went up. This time it came from everyone, town and reservation together. Ajax Mining is facing very big fines, and they will pay to fix the water they stole. A cheer went up. This time, it came from everyone, town and reservation together. "We try some new crops, the ones that don't need so much water." He paused. "Your grandmother said something about a broken promise between our grandfathers." "She did," Kaya said. "I think we fixed it," Tom said. "Not by going back, by going forward." Kaya reached into her pocket. She pulled out a smooth, round stone. It was the color of sand. She placed it in Tom's palm. "This is from the wash where the water returned. It is a good stone. It means a new beginning." Tom closed his fingers around it. It was warm from her pocket. He had not received a gift in a very long time. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick. They stood there, not as a farmer and an Apache woman, not as teacher and student, but as two friends who had saved their home. The sun was warm on their faces. Below them, the trickle of water kept flowing, a soft, steady sound of life coming back.